Right, hello, welcome back everybody. PayPal and Patreon are down below if you want to support me, only do so if you actually can. So, this one we're once again, after a while, going back to looking at some water level issues, specifically this time with Lake Powell, which is the second largest of the two mega reservoirs along the Colorado River, the first one being Lake Mead. The primary purpose of both of them being to release extra stored water to flow down the Colorado River whenever the Colorado River would otherwise not have adequate water flow. And for the quarter of a century we've gone through thus far since entering into the 21st century, that has basically been all the time, which has led to both lakes, both reservoirs, gradually undergoing permanent water level loss, and each getting dangerously low at different points, but having complete shutdowns of their dams or complete cessation of any water flow averted at the last minute a couple of times by massive snowmelt runoff seasons or massive deluges of rain that flood the surrounding area. But obviously, or one would hope that it would be obvious, basing regional scale civilizational plans or water supply plans around just chance-based counting on those things happening time and time again and just constantly managing to dodge disaster at the last minute is not really a viable planning strategy in any sense. But anyways, I say regional scale because Lake Powell and Lake Mead do not just supply their surrounding areas, they also, again, keep the Colorado River flowing adequately by releasing excess water, and the Colorado River water is accessed by and provides the water supply for a decent portion of agriculture and industry in Arizona because farming is being done in the middle of a desert, and also water intensive, high water usage industries such as computer processor or semiconductor manufacturing, as well as supplying a huge part of the water for Southern California and the whole giant chunk of Los Angeles area, as there's a pipeline network called the Colorado River Aqueduct that suctions water out of the Colorado River along the California-Arizona border over into Southern California. So while water levels going so low as to stop power generation at either dam would only have local effects, the water level getting below the viable point of allowing river flow to continue would obviously, as implied, be regionally devastating. And it now looks like Lake Powell is the one that is rocketing downwards towards that position. They got pretty low previously, they got really close. However, then they had a big replenishment year with massive amounts of rainfall throughout the region and the flooding associated with it, and huge amounts of snowmelt runoff. And then last year they had a easy year. This year, however, they've already gone down a decent bit, and during the recharge season or the period of the year where it normally receives some amount of refill or recharge for its water level, Lake Powell this year got basically nothing, as you can see, and is on its way downward, now down to around 3,551 or 3,550 elevation feet. Elevation feet meaning the elevation of the water surface above sea level. That's how the reservoir system is measured. And at full, Lake Powell would be at 3,700, just under 3,500, around 35, around 3,490 elevation feet is where it would pass below the turbine intakes and the dam would have to stop generating power. And it's not near there yet, but at the slope, at the incline, or rather decline that it's descending at right now, it might get there decently quickly. We'll have to wait and see. The absolute starvation point for feeding the Colorado River, where there's no more way after that for water to continue flowing out through the dam, is down at 3,370 elevation feet. And while these may seem like very far away levels, they are not, as remember, these reservoirs are flooded canyons, so they So they get more and more narrow the further down you go. Each foot of water level contains less water volumetrically than the foot above it did. So essentially, the further down you go, the faster down you go. For example, Lake Powell currently being at 3,551 elevation feet as of me recording this. That that would seem at face value if you were just doing numbers like it was still only halfway down, or actually less than halfway down to 3,370. However, it's actually more than 70% of the way down, as those top 150 feet of water level that are now lost contained over two-thirds of the reservoir's water volume. So we're in position to likely approach that danger point again that we saw a few years ago, although there is that chance that the region might get rescued from it at the last possible second by massive flooding rains or huge amounts of like 16 feet of snowfall over the course of the winter. And then, although it's another 120 vertical feet between the 3,490 elevation feet for the turbine cutoff and the 3,370 for the river flow cutoff, that again would not actually take that much to descend down, because the amount of water volume remaining at that point, that low, would be only about 10 to 15% of the reservoir's water volume. But anyways, that's it for this one. So thank you everybody for sticking around and listening. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already. PayPal and Patreon are down there if you want to support me. Only do so if you actually can. There's also a link in the description to a Google Drive folder that has hundreds of different graphs that I make and maintain across all kinds of different data compilations of different types. That's free to access at any time. There's links to my photography, to my blue sky, one at the top, and comment to my cat's YouTube channel. May God bless and protect all of you, and I will see you all around next time.